Welcome back to Stepbrothers. I'm Wesley Clark here with Andrew Hyden. We are in spring football week. It's pretty crazy how things kind of flip pages. I mean, we're in a new era of a season. We just, it felt like yesterday we were talking about IU winning the national championship. A couple of days ago, Michigan wins the college national championship in basketball, and here we are as spring football is days away. We're both excited for that on the Michigan and Ohio State side. Andrew, obviously, want to have a different season last year in terms of football.
Ideally,
you're looking forward to this spring game?
Yeah, you're right. It definitely came up fast, especially, I'm still riding a national championship high from the basketball team. I feel like last year I was, really, there were a few weeks where I was really waiting for the spring game and looking forward to it, looking forward to see Bryce Underwood, obviously. And now it really just snuck up on me. I mean, I was so focused on basketball. It's crazy. It's already here. But yeah, I think there's a lot of, you got a new staff, a lot of young talent coming in. So I think from where Michigan is currently, I think the spring game is pretty important. It'll be a good thing to watch. So
yeah, for both of these schools, they get a pretty big crowd at these spring games. That's pretty, I would say, on Michigan more so than Ohio State in terms of basketball, being relevant and, attendance being as high as possible. But it's a football town in Ann Arbor and Columbus, and both these stadiums will be packed for the most part for these games.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to want to come out and see Kyle Whittingham, see the new staff in action, see what it all looks like. So I anticipate there's going to be a lot of people excited for it in Ann Arbor for sure.
Yeah, so let's get into it. We'll talk about Michigan first and what this 2026 season could look like for Michigan.
Yeah, let's do it. So talking about the spring game, first thing that is interesting that Kyle Whittingham just said in his press conference on, I think it was last week, maybe Thursday, 12 to 18 starters aren't going to play in the spring game at all. So I know a lot of Michigan fans are disappointed to hear that. I'm disappointed to hear that, but at the same time, I understand Coach Whittingham was basically like, yeah, we've seen enough from some of the key returning guys. Don't feel the need to put them out there. And that's fair. Especially some guys like I get you don't need to see Jordan Marshall in the spring game. You don't need to see like Jair Hill and Zeke Berry. Those guys probably won't play. But really, like I think the good thing about that is you're going to get to see a lot of the young talent. And Michigan has a really good freshman class coming in, and they had a really great 2025 class who you're going to look to. You're going to be wanting to see some of those freshmen make a jump in their sophomore year. So, looking at some of the true freshmen, I think there are definitely some guys where if Michigan wants to accomplish their goals this year, especially on offense, there are some weapons that there are some true freshman weapons on offense that are going to be contributors from day one. Looking at guys like Savion Hyder, obviously, rumors are he's been taking snaps with the ones. He's a pretty clear RB2 as it seems to be playing out right now behind Jordan Marshall. Travis Johnson, obviously a highly rated receiver recruit, looks to be making some noise, could play early. Celesi Moa, 5-star receiver. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't playing for Michigan in some capacity game one, especially on kickoff and punt return, something like that. And then Tommy Carr has been probably the biggest surprise coming out of Michigan's spring camp. Quarterback depth at Michigan is something that hasn't been great these past 2 years. Braden Fowler-Nicolosi is a veteran guy from Colorado State who will be on campus in the summer, but he's not there yet. And then Colin Hurley, who LSU transfer, who would have added some nice depth to that room, left the program just a couple of weeks ago for reasons that haven't really been disclosed. But yeah, Tommy Carr, originally committed to Miami, Ohio. I don't think a lot of people were expecting him to come in and really make some noise, but Kyle Whittingham said like he is quarterback 2 right now. If we were to, spot the ball and have to go right now, week 1, he would be the backup. So I'm interested to see what that looks like, especially when you compare it to Bryce. So yeah, that's kind of the first point. A lot of young guys. It'd be good to see a lot of the true freshmen.
I'm interested in seeing the second year of Bryce Underwood. I think he is himself, obviously, in terms of college football, he is a household name around town, but obviously not the year he wanted to last year with the hype he got and the significant NIL money he received. This is a year that's very important for him, because if you have 2 years in a row, you know a copy and paste of freshman year, then Michigan is going to end up looking at for somebody else
Yeah.
to cover some gaps. So
Yeah.
there is definitely some pressure on the on the 5-star quarterback going
Yeah.
into his sophomore year. So I'm interested in seeing how he performs. It's a low pressure environment for these spring games, but it's game reps for the most part. And there's the
Oh
guys
yeah,
who
it's all important.
against especially the corners and wide receivers. They're looking to get more playing time. They're going to go out. They're going to try to pick you off. So I am. I'm going to watch some videos on Bryce Underwood
Yeah.
after that game.
And we'll get into more of that from the Bryce Underwood side of things in a few minutes here. But yeah, undoubtedly important. Everyone in Ann Arbor, including Bryce Underwood himself, is going to be looking to make a jump. And I do think that the success of this season for Michigan, especially the success in the offense, is probably going to revolve pretty heavily around what Bryce Underwood is able to do in terms of his development next year. So, all right, I'll throw the mic over to you. Give me some players to watch for Ohio State, things you're looking for. I know there's more certainty around the Ohio State program in terms of scheme and the guys you have, but give me your thoughts there.
Yeah, we going back and we talked about this a good amount with the transfer portal. It looked ugly to begin with all these guys leaving, especially the wide receivers, Mylan Graham, going to Notre Dame, and a couple players following Hartline, CJ Hicks to South Carolina, South Florida, rather.
Close enough.
But obviously, say again?
Close enough.
Yeah. Down south. A couple guys came in. Quawar Shaw, is a name, but he's not on I'm going to top 3 players I'm excited for. Earl Little Jr., coming from FSU. He did suffer the injury, but he's had a very solid college career so far and is looking to make.
Is he back healthy already? Is he back healthy now?
Yeah, he's going to be healthy. He's be ready to go. Missed pretty much all of last year at Florida State. Was one of the best corner safeties, and he's going to have the big shoes to fill with Igmanosin gone, who had a phenomenal senior year following his junior year where he struggled. And then obviously Kalen Downs, who was the best safety that Ohio State has had since, I don't know, Michael Jenkins, who was one of the best NFL players. So he's one to look out for. Obviously, new face, new number, just a new guy, and a lot of shoes to fill. And there's gonna be gaps in this defense after either the number 1 or number 2 best defense last year, if it wasn't Indiana.
Yeah.
I will say that wasn't the reason why Ohio State lost either. I mean, the most they gave up was 17 points against Miami, and it was kind of the offense that needs to put together.
Yeah, 7 of those being a 70-yard pick six.
I mean, the offense was so bad they gave the other team points. But, yeah, so Earl Little Jr. is one to look out for. Legend Bay, he's going to be a freshman coming in. He does have a undisclosed injury. I believe it's lower body, but no specifics there. He's going to miss the spring game. Not really a problem. A good amount of guys miss spring games. I remember Henderson had missed a couple. Jenkins missed one. So he was the commit that wanted to go to Ohio State, and his mom made him sign to Tennessee, and then
I remember that, all that controversy. Yeah,
Tennessee released his letter of intent, and then once he turned 18, he officially signed with Ohio State. Now, you're not gonna be surprised by what I say, but the fact that I have to say it is surprising. Connor Hawkins, the Baylor kicker, is to watch for. I am sure that they're going to put him in situations during this game, but that he's going to have to kick 50 plus, whether that's
you have to
late in the game or even if it's a 4th and 1, you can run a 4th down play. You're going to have to put him in a situation where he's kicking 50.
They should just have a kicking segment like at the end or something.
It has gotten really bad.
Like 10 field goals.
Ever since, when Ohio State lost to Georgia with Noah Ruggles, his missed kick, it's been brutal since. Several missed kicks against Michigan, obviously against Miami that could have helped them inch closer to winning that game. I mean, they lost to IU because of a 27-yarder.
That was the worst. The IU one was the
Yeah,
most.
yeah.
In that situation, that's the
I mean,
worst. That was the worst.
I mean, once he missed, the game was over. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, Ohio State had been moving the ball, and we'll go over this more in the offseason. Julian Sane, Ryan Day has told him, if you want to win a national championship and keep your job, you need to run the ball. We saw J.T. Barrett do it. Cardell Jones was the biggest Ohio State quarterback of all time. He ran the ball, and that's why Ohio State won a national championship. Will Howard extended plays because he ran the ball. He was able to escape the pocket and can leave the O-line alone. And you'd see him on the side just wait. He had so much time to throw the ball against what they did against Oregon on that 60-yard touchdown. Jeremiah Smith, I mean, he's all alone in the pocket because he's able to scramble a few yards. Julian Saint can do that. He can do that against IU with a couple fourth down failures. And then, of course, Jaden Fielding missing a 27-yard. I mean, that is unacceptable. I mean, we had high school kickers at our high school that, I mean, the guy went to Mississippi State, but still, like, it's 27 yards. I mean, that's JV. We would kick JV field goals. I mean, I've kicked a 27-yarder, and I was a punter at our high school. So, and this is Ohio State. So Connor Hawkins, Baylor transfer. There's some videos of him kicking some 55-yarders. I mean, that's at the Woody, but that doesn't mean anything because there was also a video of Fielding kicking a 62-yarder at the Woody, so that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, what was his line? I feel good anywhere from anywhere beyond the 50. Is that what he said?
I feel good from 60. I feel comfortable from 60.
Of course.
He said I'm confident that I can kick a 60-yard, something like that. And I'm confident you're. I'm not even gonna get into it, but it's it was a lie.
On to better things.
Yeah, maybe we'll see him in the UFL. I don't even think the UFL got good kickers, so I don't even think they're gonna draft him there. But those are my three players that I'm very intrigued how to see. Riley Pettyjohn will actually be my I don't know if we have my player of the year. Biggest breakout candidate was going to go to Riley Pettyjohn. He had some time. Obviously, you have Sonny Styles and Arvo Reese, who are in the top 7 that are going to get drafted this year, number 2 and probably number 7 to the Jets and the Commanders. And he's going to be the next great running back for Ohio State. It's kind of what we saw with – what's up?
Say running back?
No. Linebacker, sorry.
Okay.
Kind of what we saw with Arvo Reese when he would fill time when Cody Simon would come out or Sonny Styles when they would shift personnel. That was Riley Pettyjohn. I mean, he at times when Sonny Styles and Arvo would late in games, I mean, this guy would lay wood. So it's exciting to see. He would lay the wood. So
you got to educate me a little bit. Like what? Obviously, linebacker. Like what class is he?
He is a sophomore.
Okay.
He's a sophomore. I can pull up his. Yeah, he's from McKinney, Texas. 6'2". Yeah, he is redshirted before. So 230, 6'2", a little smaller than Sonny Styles with that 260 and 6'5" frame. I mean, he obviously Sonny Styles is 2.5 years older than him and came in as a safety, which they tend to be taller at times than linebackers. I mean, Sonny Styles is just a freak athlete, but yeah, I mean, he's got a good frame. I mean, he's very athletic, and I think that's why he has stayed at Ohio State because of the linebackers that have come and gone in Columbus. So I'm excited to see that. I mean, we've seen obviously linebackers fail several times, just be a classic, solid college player. But this is going to be exciting to see this guy, and so he'll be my breakout candidate. Last year it was C.J. Hicks, who was a 5-star linebacker. Sorry, Mylan Graham. But the year before that, C.J. Hicks was a 5-star coming into Ohio State. He was bigger, same kind of athletic frame as Riley Pettijohn, but he never really got the opportunity to play. Showed some flashes, but a lot of times he would miss assignments. They ended up moving him to edge, struggled there, and now he's off to South Florida with Brian Hartline.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, those will be good to see. We'll keep our eyes peeled out for those guys. Hopefully they can make a jump with some of those obviously impressive guys leaving.
It'll be hard to fill. I mean, when you have so many first rounders,
right.
Katie McDonald, there's Caden Curry, who's he's a third rounder, but NFL talent. Jack Sawyer was a third rounder last year. Obviously, we saw the impact that he made. Mm-hmm. JT Tuimoloau was a third rounder, and fourth rounder. He made a big impact on Ohio State. So losing this many first rounders, I mean, that's the byproduct of what Ohio State had last year. So it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll see. Matt Patricia this is going to be he got a gift. When he signed with Ohio State as the defensive coordinator, okay, here's your candy. Now we got to see what you can make from the recruits.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Back to the Michigan side. Let's talk scheme, because this is one of the most disappointing things for me last year. I obviously there were some holes on Michigan's roster. A cat just walked by my window. There were some holes on Michigan's roster. A cat, yeah, like a stray cat or something. I don't know. Anyway, but I was disappointed with the scheme, I think, more than anything. Obviously, Michigan's always going to have talent, and the way they've been recruiting the past 2 or 3 years, they have talent in every single position group at Michigan. But watching some of those offensive schemes just, run the inside zone and not much creativity. Obviously, we want to see more of a downfield passing attack, but just not a lot of creativity, not enough misdirection. Way too many screens. People will blame Chip Lindsey, who's now the offensive coordinator at Missouri, was at Michigan last year. I think it's fully on Sharon Moore. I think he had way more of a hand in that than people realize. And then on the defensive side, Wink Martindale. A lot of people defended Wink Martindale. I'm personally not a fan. Some of those zone blitzes, I remember I used to show you pictures of those where there'd be 2 wide receivers, on crossing routes in the middle of the field, and Michigan would have like 3 guys, like 2 guys on one sideline, 1 defender on the other, in the middle of the field. It should be wide open because they would send like a 5-man zone blitz. Never worked once. So looking to see some improvements there. Obviously, you're not going to see the full package when it comes to scheme in a spring game, right? They're not trying to put everything out on the field, not trying to put everything on film. But Jason Beck, he's talked about it in his press conferences. He wants to organize his scheme around his best players, find ways to get the ball into the hands of his best players no matter what. For Bryce Underwood, that's going to mean a lot more QB run, which I think a lot of people are excited for. More misdirection, more personnel packages. All in all, I'm hoping just to see more creativity. Yes, I hope that definitely includes a downfield passing attack too, but just less predictable is all we're hoping for as Michigan fans, I think. And then on the defensive side, Jay Hill definitely is a little bit different schematically, not totally different, but a little bit than Wink Martindale, Jesse Minter, Mike McDonald, who all kind of come from that Ravens amoeba defense tree. It's going to be more man coverage under Jay Hill, which I don't know if we've seen since Don Brown, really. It's going to be, he likes to throw a lot of different looks, great pressures using different stunts and things like that. Less of a zone blitzer, more man coverage, more let's try to create pressure by, mixing up formations and stunts rather than just sending extra bodies. He's big into the back end and disguising coverage. With the safeties and the corners, trying to create chaos, much more of a try to create turnovers defense, right? I don't know that's been a real focus for Michigan's past couple defensive coordinators, right? It's been more keep the ball in front of you, be able to tackle in space. Jay Hill is much more trying to force a turnover, trying to force chaos. So yeah, that's a big thing, big storyline for the spring game for Michigan. I think is what do those kind of different schematic schemes look like?
Yeah, the big difference between Matt Patricia, what he did last year was keeping the ball in front of you, and it worked. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it helps when you have the veteran talent,
Right.
and then the turnovers naturally come because of of the talent itself. So I don't totally disagree with you keep the ball in front of you, turnovers will happen, or you want to limit long drives. I know in the past Ohio State is okay. Well, we're gonna give up long plays, but we're gonna limit drives. We'll give up long plays, but that's just how it works. And it didn't work for Ohio State. Now Patricia comes in, keep the ball in front of you, and they did well.
Yeah,
So
no, I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do things. And, like I said, Jay Hill is definitely about fundamentals and tackling in space, as every defensive coordinator is. But difference is Ohio State last year had guys that could get after the quarterback, and Michigan just didn't really have that presence. So I think that's why Wink Martindale wanted to send a lot of extra pressure, right? Because when Michigan would send 4 guys a lot of the time outside of like the Nebraska game, quarterbacks would just have all day, and it was easy money. Our defense sometimes made some of the worst quarterbacks in the Big Ten look elite, right? With the way they were just able to sit back there and dissect. I think it was predictable too. I think it was predictable on that side of the ball. So hopefully that'll be a difference with Jay Hill there.
yeah, no, I mean this is going to be big. This is a big year for the program for Michigan.
Yeah,
the national championship, and now 2 years in a row where it's just blankness. It almost just seems like you have high hopes, but I mean the product on the field has been mediocre,
right.
And so it's going to be big for and for obviously new head coach. There's definitely question marks with new head coaches, new coordinators, and a 5-star quarterback who threw 9 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I think it was 10 with the bowl game, but
bowl game, right? So that's
not enough. I'll tell you that.
There's question marks that have to be answered, and the only way they're going to be answered is during the season. So it's going to be a waiting game for Michigan fans until the season.
Right. We'll see. Yeah, it feels crazy to think that we won the national championship 2 years ago with how bad the Sharon Moore era was, just how that, the product on the field completely seemed to lose everything that made Michigan great in 2023 and the couple years before that just was not there under Sharon Moore. So we'll, hopefully this is a new era, and Kyle Whittingham era will be able to restore Michigan back to the top of the Big Ten. But, speaking of scheme, let's get into the Ohio State side. I want to hear what you're looking for under Arthur Smith, what you think about the differences between him and, who was, what's his name? Brian Hartline as the offensive coordinator last year, maybe issues you had with him. Obviously, Ryan Day took over some of the play calling duties. Get into that a little bit.
Yeah, when you compare it, comparing him, all these 3 guys, Chip Kelly, Hartline, Ryan Day calling plays, what Arthur Smith has done in the NFL with the, the Falcons and the Steelers. There is what I keep saying is question marks. I'm suspect, to be honest with you. Chip Kelly, I was excited when he came in because you have this talent. You got a freshman wide receiver, an anomaly of a player. Just give him the ball. Just get for the ball. I mean, they're especially at the beginning of the year, they're just going to one-on-one him. Okay, and you saw what happened. Eventually, they bracket him in the playoffs. Okay, well, now you got Carnell Tate. You have Emeka Buka, who is now a star in the NFL. There is no shortage of talent on this Ohio State team. Brian Hartline comes in, comes in as the OC and limits that. So that was a major issue. And this was the second time that Brian Hartline had his play calling duties stripped from him. So I think that him becoming OC just fell into the athletic director's hands and Ryan Day. They didn't want him to leave. They wanted
to keep him there. Yeah.
Recruiting to stay at its peak, because he did interview for the West Virginia job the year after the year they won the national championship. It was kind of a threat. I figured that, okay, you need promoted to OC or I'm going to go somewhere else. And then he, eventually people move on, become a coach. He's obviously his success has led. He absolutely did earn it. But him as OC, I think I am glad that it's done because It wasn't, Arthur Smith is known for his 12 personnel, very heavy personnel.
Mhm.
Hartline did that, but it seemed like as he was inexperienced in how to run it. How do you
Sure.
run 11 personnel, but then you have Jeremiah Smith as the one wide receiver and get him open? It just seemed like he couldn't do that. And blood trickery plays with Chip Kelly in a way that worked. It didn't work for Brian Hartline. It was very straight up, bland plays that cost Ohio State late in the season. Arthur Smith going to be a little bit more creative. I'm not huge with the heavy personnel when Ohio State's offense can be the most explosive in college football in every single year. And when Matt Patricia came in, you saw success with the Patriots and winning a Super Bowl. I mean, he struggled in Detroit, but I mean, so does 99% of head coaches in the NFL. I mean, we'll see. This is kind of what I said about Michigan. It's a waiting game until the season. After what I saw with Hartline, I'm hoping that this is just not a more experienced, heavy personnel. I hope that he actually comes in here and takes what he's seen.
There's a rhyme. There's got to be a rhyme and a reason to it.
Right. That you just don't go in here and play 3 yards and dust or whatever, 3 yards and a pile of dust like that. That doesn't work in football anymore. That's Navy football. That's Army football. No more. Not when you have Brandon Innes as a senior and Jeremiah Smith in his last year of college football and Julian Sain, who had the most accurate quarterback last year. It's just you got to pass it downfield, and they didn't do that last year.
Yeah.
So it was confusing at times. I know Ryan Day, he talked about thud tempo during this spring game, which is high intensity. We're going to be tackling 100%. So I think that's going to be good for a lot of these players who are trying to earn starting spots or at least playing time. Devin Sanchez, he looks like he's going to be filling in that corner position that Igbinosun was in. So I'm glad that they're doing that. It isn't last year. The spring game was kind of a classic. We'll run plays. We'll see if accurate one-on-ones, kind of what you would see at spring practice. So I think this year they're going to try to change it up, and we'll see what Arthur Smith does. I think Ryan Day is going to test Smith more than he would Patricia the last 2 years.
Sure. Cool. Yeah. From my perspective, I think watching Brian Hartline's offense, and obviously you don't exactly know who, it's not one person in charge of coordinating the offense or defense, right? Everybody has their hands on. Ryan Day on the offensive side obviously will have his hands on. But I would say Hartline looked more, especially in the biggest games. I think some of his heavier personnel looks were mostly just because of kind of a conservative mindset, or I would even say like it seemed like he was scared to take risks.
Which is shocking. Which is shocking to say, because I do believe that that's true. All the time, Joe Klatt said, Ohio State must have like this fourth gear that they're going to get into. They're just not showing it because, you're playing Washington. They showed kind of a fourth gear when they, in that fourth quarter where they dropped 20 points and just ran away with the game. It never got to that fourth gear that I kept on hearing. And it's making mistakes. You dead ass with the offense, with the defense that you have. I mean, you're the best defense in the country, and you're scared about your offense making mistakes.
Yeah.
No one can. At times, they made mistakes in the playoffs. Will Howard threw an interception against Texas, and they got the ball back 6 plays later.
Yeah.
Because Texas couldn't move the ball. And then they ended up scoring. So I will always question that mindset my entire life, with the whole being scared with the best defense that I have probably seen in my lifetime. I mean, maybe with Chase Young in 2019, with Jeff Okudah as well, and Nick Bosa was part of that very briefly before he got injured. It's shocking. It did feel that way. The whole being don't want to show your fourth gear, don't want to turn over the ball. Turn over the ball. If you're going to turn over the ball 4 times, but you're dropping 60 points, I don't care. I don't really care. And they didn't do that.
Sure.
Now, I will say their success rate per possession was probably pretty high. Because they didn't have that many possessions against Michigan.
Yeah.
They were trying to slow the game down, and they still were able to score a good amount of points.
Yeah, Michigan doesn't count. That team was a joke. 2024 and 2025, Michigan don't exist in my brain as far as we're concerned.
Skip the last 2 years.
Yeah, didn't happen. But anyway, last point here for Michigan. We touched on a little bit before. Probably the biggest storyline for either of these two teams going into this year is Bryce Underwood. Not the most impressive freshman year. Not terrible, but I think up to everybody's standards, especially his own, it wasn't up to par. Part of that was him being young and inexperienced, panicking a little bit under pressure in the pocket. But also, I don't think the system was set up very well for him to succeed. Obviously, Sharon Moore is a head coach. The things that are coming out now about him, obviously, it's not the most productive environment, I guess you could say. Didn't really seem to, the culture and the way things were operated didn't seem to be at the standard they should be. Obviously, Bryce didn't have a quarterbacks coach. Now he has a dedicated quarterbacks coach who's with him every day. It's definitely going to be interesting. Something that I know people have been talking about who are watching Michigan spring practice and some people who have some intel on it say that pass protection has been a bit of a struggle, which is not a total surprise because even though Michigan does have a lot of returning offensive linemen, that wasn't their strong suit last year. It was more of the run game and defensive line, which was a concern going into the offseason for me and I think a lot of other Michigan fans. Seems to be a surprise in the way that they are being violent, in the way that they're able to get after the quarterback and create havoc back there, especially at the defensive tackle spot. So I think you're going to be able to see, hopefully back to the 12 to 18 starters not playing. I hope Bryce is one of the ones that is playing. I think I would assume he's not one of the ones that they've quote unquote seen enough from at this point, right? So I hope he still plays. But I think with that, you're going to see how well he handles pressure. You're going to be able to see how his maturity is developing. Is he going through his progressions a little bit more effectively and smoother than he was last year? Obviously, we've seen the arm talent. We know what that looks like. We know he can make incredible throws. We know he can make plays on the run. We know he can make plays on his legs. Being able to manage the game better and be more effective in terms of the system. And again, hopefully that system is a lot better than we've seen. But that's the biggest things that I'm going to be watching, I think.
Yeah, I assume that with the way I've seen social media, Bryce Underwood is going to play. I seen that video the other day with him flipping it behind his back.
On his back, yeah.
What would you do if he got picked off? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a huge year for him, and also in terms of money. Dave Portnoy mentioned that he's not going to be giving Bryce Underwood money after what he did for his freshman year, which it seems harsh. But
say that? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he said it would be crazy if he asked for more money. That's what Dave Portnoy
after his freshman year? Yeah, with the amount he's already making, that would be crazy.
And yeah, I mean, and then he talked about this was, I believe, Urban Meyer on the Triple Option podcast, and just the production. No, I'm not giving that kid more money. It was a harsh reality, but it's true for Bryce Underwood.
Bryce Underwood is not some prima donna. He holds himself to a high standard. He's a hard worker. Like I said, he definitely, out of anybody that has high expectations for Bryce, I think he probably has the highest for himself.
100%. What you talked about the run using his legs. Yeah, I mean, he used his legs a good amount, almost to the point where it felt like he didn't trust himself with his arm. That's kind of the vibe I was getting from Bryce.
Well, here's what I'll say. From a Michigan fan perspective, I think people were more mad that there wasn't more QB design runs, because we did not see a lot of that. And I'm hoping we see more. I expect to see more under Jason Beck, because that is one of Bryce's best attributes. But you're right. He did, when he wasn't seeing the field very well, Thinking back to the Ohio State game, the Oklahoma game, right, where those are two elite defenses, he did, miss open reads or not trust his protection and tuck it and run a little too early.
Oh yeah, he did that. I mean, there
Yeah.
was times I thought during that Michigan game, and I said this, like, Michigan's got to take shots here. Like, there's no way you're gonna win against Ohio State if you don't throw the ball 40 yards down the field. And then here he is, he tucks and run, and Arbor Reese is right there. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, but it's not gonna work. And didn't work against Oklahoma either.
No. Yeah, it did not. And I'll say, I do not blame Bryce a ton for his freshman year. One, he's super young. Just because he's the number one recruit in the country doesn't mean that he's not subject to some freshman, struggles. But with the coaching staff and the way that things were running, just as for the program as a whole, I'm going into this year with honestly similar expectations for Bryce that I had last year, which was, okay, let's just see what he can do, right? Obviously I expect him to be better than he was last year, but I'm not going in expecting this, that, and that. Like, I have an open mind, and I hope he kills it. But it's like you said, it's a waiting game. It's going to be a completely different system for him. The weapons that he has around him are night and day compared to last year. Obviously, Andrew Marsh still there. JJ Buchanan, Jamie French are going to be guys that contribute a ton for Michigan. So there's no excuses now. The coaching staff's in place. The weapons are in place. This is the time for Bryce to show if he's really about it.
The last thing I'll say for both these programs, all things considered, with the coordinators, Michigan's new head coach, new personnel on the field, including players and transfers, I am not surprised, especially when you compare them what Oregon has. They've kind of kept their core, that Ohio State, Michigan are not projected to be in the Big Ten championship right now. I'm really not surprised by that. It is. I mean, it's going to be kind of rolling the dice in a way for both these teams. Probably there is more expectation in terms of wins for Ohio State because of the really known talent and having Ryan Day. But yeah, Oregon to me would be the favorite to win the Big Ten.
Oh yeah, I think that's fair, and it's fair to assume that Indiana is going to be able to retain a lot of their success. I know they are going to have a lot of new faces, but with what Kurt Cignetti just did, I think it's fair to give them the benefit of the doubt. Part of that also is schedule. I mean, Michigan and Ohio State have two of the hardest schedules in the Big Ten, so that plays a part in it.
I know Ohio State has right now the number one schedule in the nation.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Is Michigan top 10 too?
Yes.
Yeah, it's and it's crazy
exactly, but anytime you have a non-conference game against an SEC team like Texas or Oklahoma, I know Ohio State goes on the road to Texas, Michigan gets Oklahoma at home, but having to go play Oregon on the road, Ohio State on the road, playing Indiana, Penn State, and then Ohio State plays USC, Oregon. You guys play Indiana too, right?
Yep, at Indiana.
Yeah, so there'll be no shortage of big games this year.
At Indiana, you play home against Michigan, Oregon, but right now they have Ohio State as the hardest schedule. So that's obviously one of the reasons why they're around the 9.5 mark. This is another reason why, some people want the extended playoffs. We'll get into that too. Harder schedules. The two conferences are mixing with each other. Last year we saw Texas lose to Ohio State, and they missed the playoffs. If they played Ohio, are they in? Maybe, probably.
Probably.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it'll be a good season overall. Excited. I mean, it's still several months away. We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, I know it's a tough. The summer is obviously great because of the weather, but yeah, it's a long wait for football season.
Because once this spring game happens, and there's still a long way. I mean, there's going to be nothing for a while in terms of football. A lot of players go home, they're traveling, and then they come back a little earlier for the fall practice. But it's like a little tease in a way for college football immediately after college basketball.
Yeah, so we'll savor the spring game while we can. Of course, we'll be here to talk about it, and hopefully the day after, the days following after. that's all I got. Unless you got anything else you want to touch on?
No, that's good. I'm more excited to watch spring games, even though Ohio State loses every year to themselves.
Oh, good one.
Because Ohio State always lose. I mean, they always win, but they always lose as well.
Isn't it like, doesn't Ohio State do like ones versus twos?
They mix it up. They do ones and ones, and then they'll do ones versus
Oh, I mean,
three.
the ones versus the ones.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
that.
I like that. I like that.
They hit that. They hit on that a ton during practice as
Yeah.
well. Just because
Yeah,
I mean,
I like that
these
format a lot. I mean, Michigan
are the
obviously has
guys
the
that,
draft.
because you're these guys are you're practicing against the best in the country, so
Yeah.
you might as well.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
All right. Well, go follow us on TikTok. You can see down below Stepbrothers Podcast 1, Stepbrothers Pod. Andrew's doing a lot of college basketball content on our TikTok.
Yeah, gonna be moving back to football now though.
Yep.
Football season's coming.
Yep, and go watch your spring game, whether that's Big Ten teams or Ohio State or Michigan. Let us know players that you're interested in seeing. Riley Pennyjohn for me in terms of Ohio State, but yeah, go like and comment. Go watch our podcast last week on the reaction of Michigan winning the national championship. But we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.